Hello and welcome to the Rags to Riches Roundup episode. So this is kind of like a final episode to kind of talk about the different stats that came up. Maybe you only watched some of the videos, only videos about your class. This video will be about all of the classes in general. And I wanted to set up a few categories to talk about, to kind of not necessarily compare like as a clear comparison tier list kind of vibe, just as my experience with the classes, what I ended up seeing as better or worse, and kind of give like one point of strength for each of the classes. So let's get into it and kind of see what's up. And of course, all this is subject to change because we are still waiting for the big final update from Senpai this Saturday. So you know, who knows what happens. Some things are subject to change, but this is a summary of my experience. So I just wanted to share again this picture, these seven classes. We got all of them to level 91 or higher. Just a beautiful thing that I got here on my little single player account. I was very happy to do this little series to cover all these characters. I really enjoyed all of them. But with that said, let's talk a little bit. And the categories I wanted to talk about is the day one experience, who I thought were very strong farmers on day one, who had like the best or like the fastest solo leveling experience, who had the best solo Ubers, solo declone, all these kind of things. After that, we'll talk a little bit about who had the best budget mapping, kind of note a few notable builds, in my opinion, that were really strong. And who benefited the most from investment, who became much faster given a little bit more budget. So first, let's talk about that day one experience. And in terms of speed, our swiftiest character in terms of solo leveling was actually the Amazon. I do believe that Sorceress should be up there. So again, this was just due to my experience. Sorceress took us 8 hours, and Amazon took us 7 hours to get to level 80, and also do our Bale. The only reason I think Sorceress was slower was because she was the first class I did it with, compared to all the other classes. Amazon was like the 5th, I think. So yeah, I did have like more experience at that point, so maybe I was a little bit more comfortable as well. I believe if I do this again with the Sorceress, it will be faster. So these are the two classes I wanted to note. Decoy Zone was the class we used for the Amazon. We started with Power Strike and moved into Decoy Zone. Decoy Zone is incredibly safe. It absolutely demolishes the competition. It's very easy to get through all of the points, like, you know, the Ubers, not Uber, sorry, the Ancients, the Hellbale, Diablo, going through like the soul infested Act 4 and Act 5 Worldstone. So Decoy Zone, incredibly safe, doesn't require a lot of items, it just kind of works, and it was a really nice experience overall leveling with it. Sorceress, of course, you can't downplay the benefits of having teleport early on. Incredibly comfortable. We started with Firewall, that was our main skill, and over at the end of Nightmare, we transitioned into Meteor, which absolutely destroys early on. Important to note, areas to farm. We farmed the pits with the Amazon, and we farmed actually anywhere that we wanted. You could farm Chaos, you could farm Mephisto, Bale, the main bosses for some pests. You could farm keys with Meteor on all of the key areas. So absolutely amazing two builds. The other builds, generally in the middle, we had classes like Paladin and Necromancer that were kind of okay to level with. We start with Poison Strike, that was very strong, and moved into Golems, that was very safe. Golems and Revives on the Necromancer. With Paladin, we started with Physical Charge and moved into Holy Bolt, which was incredibly safe due to the Salvation Aura that takes care of your resistances. So two amazing builds for sure. After that, we had Druid and Assassin. Assassin, we had a little bit of a bump with, but I ended up saying like I think you should be leveling normal with Blade Sentinel, and then like moving into Lightning Traps and Nightmare. Lightning Traps are incredible, and actually a point of strength. I think generally speaking, one of the best like you know, LOD early farmers is the Arcane Sanctuary Lightning Traps. It is incredibly smooth. It deals so much damage. You can farm a lot of runes there, and hopefully you get that rune so you can transition into your favorite build, the Spin to Win Assassin. Druid does really well on day one. It's incredibly safe, you know, leveling process. You go summons all the way. Great areas to farm for him is definitely Trav. You can also farm bosses if you'd like for materials or farm keys. But Trav felt like one of the better areas, in my opinion, for the Druid, just because it's like it requires low mobility. You bring your summons, they absolutely trash them. You can get some gold on the process, maybe farm some set items, some good like uniques. That's generally what you're looking for. And we had like the Necro I already mentioned. Like yeah, in last place I had kind of like the Barbarian. Barbarian was fairly difficult to level with. You start with the double swing and you move into I moved into Warcry. Depending on the items you drop, you can stay in like double swing, you can move to Whirlwind. It just depends on the items you get or what you can craft. The thing with Barbarian, it felt like it was just generally very slow, even like with Leap for some movement and the teleport stick. Some stuff were just difficult to kill. You either go melee or you're very close range with most stuff. You can try throw in the next season. Like maybe throw will be like the big game changer. I hope it is for Barbarian. That makes like leveling with him faster. It might be something that I'd like to check as well. Test like early Barbarian with the throw. Because I feel like he definitely needed a little bit of love. But in terms of farming on day one, once you get to that Travancore spot, farming Travancore is an amazing thing for the Barbarian. Just getting that like extra gold farming, selling orbs, or maybe farming just for like uniques and set items. So I would say Trav Barb is still very, very strong. And, you know, this is a very consistent way to farm. If you've probably seen these gold barbs become very, very rich early on. So it's definitely a consistent way to farm. He's not out of the picture. No classes out of the picture when we're talking about Diablo 2 and Project Diablo 2. So with that said, that's kind of like the day one leveling roundup for self-declone and self-ubers. Self-ubers wise, I think the strongest examples that I felt were by far the first one was Necro. We used like the double curse approach with golems and revives. We went to Travancore to revive council members and ghoul lords, and basically did lower resist for them to just kind of demolish the ubers. They were incredibly strong, and I think this was our strongest day one uber approach. And it is also because of the revives, because of the golems, it also feels pretty safe to do. You want to make sure you keep your revives alive as much as you can to clear as much as possible, but you have free portals to go in and out if you need to make more revives. But yeah, this was, I think, the strongest one. Another very notable early ubers was the Summon Druid. Summon Druid was very, very strong with the bears, just absolutely trashing the ubers, the bears and the birds, the ravens. So another very, very strong one. I would say that the only downside to Druid compared to Necro is that since the revives for Necro deal a lot of elemental damage that just kind of stays there, the Hydras, you get to do a little bit more clearing in terms of just like getting rid of the summons that like the Baal has like his summons, Mephisto has his skeletons, what's his name, Diablo has the pit lords. So it felt like Necro dealt with them a little bit better. It could be that it's like that was just like a personal what you drop. Remember, this is a game of drops, a lot of RNG, so it could be just like what I dropped on Necro was a little bit better than what I dropped on Druid. But that was generally my experience. Both of them were very, very strong. After them, we had the Holy Bolt Paladin and the Decoy Zon, which required very little gear, was incredibly safe. Both of them felt very comfortable to run. And while they did take a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, overall they were incredibly nice. And a big point for Paladin in terms of mini ubers, I think Holy Bolt Paladin was maybe one of the strongest ones for doing minis. I think he deals with minis very well with like the tank Act 2 Merc, and you're healing him with the Holy Bolts. So a very, very nice option for the minis. But in the ubers, I feel like the summoners kind of won that one. After that, we had the Trap Assassin and the Meteor Sork and the Berserk Barbarian. Again, the Berserk Barbarian, it could just be that we were unlucky with our craft to hit like something with high damage, like a high ethereal damage craft. That does happen, but since Barbarian was relying on specific crafts hitting on day one, or just being lucky and finding like a really, really good item, I felt like, again, he's being left a little bit behind in terms of doing self-ubers. The lightning trap assassin, it's pretty much relying on like which claws, how much patience you got to shop for claws. It's like a big difference maker for her. But we ended up doing it pretty well with the Shadow Master tanking for you, similar to how other builds use summons. Summons on day one are just very good for these kind of scenarios. The Meteor Sorceress was kind of struggling with the minis, actually struggling with the minis more than it struggled with anything else. The Ubers themselves weren't actually that bad. I would say they were even relatively fine, not as safe as Holy Bolt or Decoys on, but still fine. We managed to clear them and it was okay. Zerg Barb, similar to the Sork, just lacking a little bit people to tank for you. It's a little bit rough. You need to get a lot of resistances and you need to find solid enough weapons to use Berserk with. We ended up doing it, but it was still somewhat challenging. Onto the declone category. In general, the strongest decloner on day one for us was quite, in my opinion, by quite a bit of a margin. The Druid, the Summon Druid, the Bears and the Birds, the Birds and the Bees, and the Ravens absolutely demolish them early on. You require almost no gear at all to run this. Just a few skill points in your summons. We did this with no skillers, you know, no torch, no nothing pretty much. Like we had a torch, but it wasn't a druid torch. For other classes, they used like their class torches. It required almost nothing, like plus 3 skill, amulet that we gambled, plus 1 armor. It was Spirit Shroud. We used like super cheap gear that we basically could get anywhere else. That doesn't even require spending Worldstone shards. For the most part, we just kind of dropped that or gambled it. So Druid was by far the strongest day one decloner. After Druid, I had several candidates I was kind of considering in terms of who was good at doing kind of like day one declone. And my options were, they kind of surprised me initially. So I think Paladin with the Holy Bolt was incredibly strong. Even though I did die the first time, I think I could have done it the first time. We just, you know, we needed to shuffle a few things around to make it actually work. And just to be more awake. So I think Paladin was very strong in a day one Uber with the Holy Bolt. We also had our Meteor Sork. That was kind of the surprise. I didn't think Meteor Sork would be as strong for day one Uber, but just the fact that you're doing it from a pretty safe range was very, very nice. For the Meteor Sork, she ended up being very strong, considering she used very low budget, very low gear, things that you can find pretty much anywhere. After that, we had our Berserk Barb. He was also a very strong candidate for early declone, in my opinion. I think the Zerk, again, in Ubers, it was a little bit difficult, mostly because you need to find so much resistances and you're self-tanking and you don't have anything by your side. In declone, it was no issue. The Berserk was doing very, very well, even though it reduces your PDR. As long as you do it when in like safe positions, well, when you're not getting you know, lightning hose or something like that. It felt very, very strong. We cleared the declone with him at a very fast pace as well, with very cheap gear. So I was pretty happy with the declone attempt for the Barbarian. After that, I had Assassin. We did lightning traps for our day one declone. We didn't do Beascent. Beascent could be better for a day one situation, I don't know. But I was just tired of Beascent at that point in time. So it could be that it's just my experience. It's not necessarily like an objective thing, but just kind of like what we happen to do. Assassin was pretty safe with the lightning traps. It was a little bit of a grindy fight. For it, killing the skeletons with the lightning traps takes a bit of time. But overall, she did fine. It's a very safe option. She does have less health than the other classes. Not less than Sork, I guess, but she is less safe than Sork as well. So it is like a bit of a tricky position she's in, where she has a little bit of less life than the other classes. So it is something to keep in mind. But overall, she did fine. After that, we had the two last classes, in my opinion, for day one declone was the Immolation Arrow. Amazon, she was relatively difficult. Like, she wasn't difficult to do the fight, but she's just very squishy. And it was hard to get like a lot plus skills early on. If you hit the right craft for your bow and you get like a very nice Immolation Arrow bow, or if you get like other nice, you know, PDR crafts for her, or other like other nice items, maybe a nice pair of arrows for your bow. Maybe it is a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable, but that was just like our experience. For the Necro, there are two possible builds. You could do Bone Spirit, or you could do the Golem build. We ended up going with the Golem build just because we didn't find really the nice items for Bone Spirit to pop off with. And the Golems, while they were relatively safe, they were still very challenging. It took us some time to figure out how to run the golems in a way that would kind of work, and how do I clear like the skeletons, how do I clear the declone part. So Necro was the most challenging in that sense for declone for me on that like day 1 approach. So that kind of rounds up the day 1. For the day 2 budget builds, I wanted to note like 4 builds that in my opinion were the strongest farmers on a budget. Remember, this is for map farming, not necessarily farming LOD. If you're farming LOD, you have the sorceress, obviously farming materials or farming all sorts of bosses. So she's obviously very strong at that, or farming Duriel Bug if you're farming LOD. We have the Travancore Barb that is amazing for Travi farming. Just does incredible. And we have like the lightning traps for Sanctuary. This I think of like 3 of the best like farmers. Honorable mention to farming Chaos Sanctuary on the Holy Bolt. That was also incredibly powerful. So that's for like LOD farming. I would say these 4 classes were doing really well. Druid can still farm Travancore. Amazon can farm pits. On the Necro, you can farm a bunch of places like bosses, or farming also Arcane Sanctuary, or farming Travi. You can farm whatever you want. You're very flexible on the Necro, but they were just not as fast as these classes in farming LOD. When it came to farming on a budget, I wanted to note 4 builds that I thought were the strongest budget mappers. And the builds I wanted to note were, in no particular order, are Frozen Orb for the Sorceress. She was incredibly powerful with very small amount of gear. We managed to make her run very fast maps on the Frozen Orb. I think it's a very powerful build. It always has been. I know people mention all sorts of builds. You can obviously farm whatever you like. A lot of people are going lightning to farm LOD areas, but if you want to farm both LOD and also farm maps efficiently, Frozen Orb is my recommendation. For the Paladin, the Holy Bolt Paladin was very strong already early on, but the builds I wanted to mention are Vengeance and Lightning Sacrifice. It was in the last videos, in the last like series. Both of them are very strong. Generally, I would lean towards Lightning Sacrifice because I think it scales better. But it could be just like my experience. I think Lightning Sacrifice is incredibly powerful. This is very cheap to run, and yeah, you can make a lot of kills on the maps with it very fast, which is always good, because once you're farming fast in the maps, it's when you start dropping runes. It's when you start dropping a lot of these high tier uniques. So yeah, I would really recommend trying, if you're going for the Paladin, you want to farm early maps, Lightning Sacrifice, quite the amazing build. And we had our Spin to Win Assassin. If you do get that Rune early on, getting that crazy Chaos Rune Word to start spinning with the Assassin, this was like a mind-blowing build for me. I did not understand how strong this build was and how fast it farms maps. And it's also a very smooth transition. You're farming with your light traps, you're farming Arcane Sanctuary. Once you get that rune that you need, that rune, or if you get any rune that you can trade for an rune, suddenly, boom, you get into maps with that. You need no gear whatsoever. Otherwise, you can either run like a Venom on the offhand, you can run any of the unique claws, or just like some sort of like a crafted claw with ED to run physical build. The rest of the gear was pretty much just like whatever you drop you can use. We also tried Natalia set, which is fairly easy to get because it's only 4 pieces compared to like a lot of the base character sets, which are like 5 normally. And yeah, this was just a very strong build. I was really mind blown by it. So these are 3 builds that I know are really nice early farmers. I will say that in my opinion, Corpse Explosion Necro is like a very honorable mention. If you do have that full set, you can move into it and farm maps very efficiently. I really liked it. It did require a little bit more budget than these 3 classes, which is why I'm like reluctantly mentioning it. In terms of speed mapping early on, Barbarian and Druid weren't the speediest. They were a little bit more efficient still farming LOD areas compared to farming maps, but you can still try your luck with either Spin Barb, Whirlwind Barb with Bleed, or try the Leaper version as well. They were both doing fine, just not amazing. In my opinion, the weakest mapper on the budget was probably the Amazon, multi-shot being the best option at this moment. We do know that we're getting some changes for Amazon to jab. I don't think that they will be significant for early mapping. I don't think so, at least. I think they will definitely affect her bossing and leveling capabilities, so I guess that will be interesting to see. But she does get a little bit of a buff too, so far at least, from what we know. through penetrate. She'll get some physical resistance, so multi-shot could become a better build in that day 2 scenario. So multi-shot is like the build I went with Amazon. It was the least fast build in my opinion in terms of speed, or in my experience, I guess, but still like viable farmer in early maps. Later, if we're talking about the day 3 roundup, who benefited the most from investment? In my opinion, the builds that benefited the most from getting a little bit more investment into their clear time were builds like Barbarian start becoming a lot faster. If you start getting that damage on the Whirlwind, suddenly your spin becomes really powerful, so that was really nice. Amazon, of course, once you get like a solid Bariza and you can farm like with multi-shot, she cuts a lot of time. Once you get that like movement speed as well, if you can get that Faith Rune Word to get going for you for the Mercenary, that's when the build starts shining like really bright and start farming maps at like 5 to 6 minutes, which is what you want to get to. Around Druid with the Fire Druid starts becoming really fast once you really get that like nice clear speed. When you get that Infinity, till then it feels a little bit you know, in the middle, not quite as fast. You don't breeze through maps as much. So these were builds that really benefited. Obviously Sorceress really benefited, but she was already great on day 2 on the budget. So these are the builds that really benefited from that one extra item, that one big rune word that changes everything, whether it's Infinity, Faith, or whatever we were using. So that's generally like the things that I kind of noted in my kind of experience. Remember, all of this experience is very subjective, and also Diablo 2, besides being a game of joy, it's also a game of RNG, and it always depends on what you end up dropping. Sometimes you end up dropping all of your rune words on day 2, on day 3, and sometimes it takes a week. So don't take it to heart if you're not where you want to be. Sometimes we just run into road bumps, and we just have to keep going, keep the grind set up. And with that said, I'd like to wish everybody a happy season 11. I hope this series was useful or, you know, informational to some people. That is obviously my goal. My hope is that people can take something from these videos, from my experience, and maybe use it for themselves. If you did enjoy this content, I would be very happy if you could leave a like, a subscribe, a comment saying something about the video. That would be awesome to help the channel grow. And yeah, I always learn from you guys in the comments, even if I respond not necessarily like with like a yeah, you're correct. I do take information from you guys, so it's always nice to see the comments kind of sharing your information, your experiences with the characters. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the Rags to Riches season 10, season 11 kind of coming up. Next week we're going to start testing. I said this in previous videos. If you'd like something to be tested during the beta time, during the beta week, make sure to drop like information about the builds you want to see, so I can add them to the list of things that we are going to look at during the beta week. Much excitement to the announcement from Senpai this Saturday to see what he got in store for us on that final big update. I hope to see a lot of things, but I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, I just hope you have a good whatever you're having. I'll see you in the next stream or in the next video, and bye.